Hello everyone, good evening. This is Karthik. I'm working as a QA engineer at Upday, and thank you so much for joining the session today on test automation at a glance. I would like to walk through and take you through this journey of test automation, wherein we will see, different points in our agenda today. So the first one would be why we need to automate our tests, and how do we get started with automation, and why is it important to choose a right tool for our automation, and what are the different aspects of the tool that we have chosen at Upday, and what are some pros and cons of the tool, and different automation practices that we have at Upday, followed by a short demo of the framework and some of our test cases that we like execute in a day-to-day basis, and we will have the last 10 minutes for Q&As, which is part of our agenda. So any questions that you might have, you can either ping in the chat, or we can discuss it in the last 10 minutes of our session. Thank you. So starting with the first point of our agenda, so why we need to automate our tests. So there are three important criteria we have to consider on any automation journey that we are going to take up. So first one would be, teams will see a great reduction in the time and effort when we have automation in place. Especially most of the tech teams nowadays are working in a agile fashion, wherein we have sprints cutting across once in every 2 weeks to production, and within the limited amount of time that we have to focus on all the tests, and which can cover all the scenarios that are part of the development, it is getting like really hard for the QA team or even the development team to cope up with all the testing and the coverage, etc. So with test automation in place, there will be a great reduction in the test execution time, especially like more than 50 to 60% on an average, and the teams can utilize this effort in handling any enhancements or any other development tasks. So this is the first one. And the second criteria or point we have to consider is, there is a great increase in the test coverage. So when compared to a regular functional testing or manual testing, test automation can increase the test coverage drastically up to 80 to 90% on an average for every sprint on sprint. So this is becoming possible because of already existing scripts and less effort needed to add any feature or enhancement to it. So I'll show a pictorial representation of it in the next slide on how it will increase the test coverage, for the automation. And the third point, important point to consider to automate tests is test automation will increase the predictability and reliability of our testing. So since we are completely eliminating any human error as part of our testing in automation, most of our tests will be like quite reliable, as they're pretty much automated and executes on their own without any human intervention or error. And predictability, on the other hand, will increase depending on the outcome of the test automation. So which means whenever we have a test automation in place, the predictability of an error, which we call as a negative testing or a exceptional handling testing, will be easily predicted, in case of any new features added, or whenever we have a test data that is modified and applied to the system, so that it will increase our prediction towards the exceptional handling scenarios and error scenarios, so that we will have them in place, and it will help both QA team and development team on how to handle these exceptional scenarios upfront in the development phase before going to production. So moving forward. So this is a pictorial representation of effort versus sprint on sprint. So in automation, we call this as a shark fin effect. So as you see the shape of the shark fin going down. So initially, whenever we start automation for like at least 2 to 3 sprints, the effort required to automation compared to manual will be higher, because we are actually setting up everything that is needed to automation, like the framework, the strategy, the tool, the environment, etc. So all these additional factors will have an effect on the total effort required, and you see that there is an increase here. And gradually, once we have all the setup in place, there will be a gradual reduction in the effort, and as you can see, compared to manual, the effort required for automation testing on a sprint on sprint will be much lesser, like almost by, as I said, like 50 to 60% on an average. That is pictorially represented here. So this applies for any application or any project in general. This will be like a trend that we see when we compare both the manual effort and automation effort. And coming to the next representation, this is related to the test coverage that we discussed in the previous slide. So as you can see, the blocks that are in like the light green are already automated tests, and the blocks that are in the dark green are like the newly created tests. So whenever there is an increase in the number of features or enhancements like release on release or sprint on sprint, if we have already automated tests in place, then the actual effort required to add a new test is really small. So if we don't have automation, then for every release or every sprint, the team have to do the test like all together manually every time. So which is like an increase in human effort as well as effort of the team. So this is increasing the test coverage at a much lesser effort and making sure all the scenarios are covered. So this is like another criteria that we discussed in the previous slide related to test coverage. And yeah, we will see this in the demo, but this is like a one highlight of test automation. So usually on an average, 20 different test steps. So when I say a test step, like let's say logging into the system, verifying or doing a transaction and logging out, for example, which includes like 20 different actions from the user. They are called test steps. And ideally, when we are doing it manually, it might take like around 4 to 5 minutes. But in automation, this can be done in less than 1 minute. So which is part of our demo today, and we can see it in the later slides. And moving forward to the next concept on how to get started with automation. So there are six important criteria we have to consider whenever we are starting like any automation journey for our project or for our application. So the first one would be setting up like clear goals on what we wanted to automate. So what is the application under test that we wanted to automate, and what kind of application it is? Like, is it a backend application or a mobile app or a web application? And what kind of scenarios are feasible for automation? So sometimes there might be some scenarios which we cannot automate. For example, you're doing an online payment through Amazon or any other website. Until you do the checkout process, you are in Amazon and you have the control of the flow. But when it comes to the payment gateway through like Visa or MasterCard or any other provider which is dealing with a third party other than your application, that is something which is not in our control, with respect to APIs or the flow, and which we cannot automate the entire flow. So this is one example. So for the application under test, we have to set up a clear goal on what scenarios we can automate and what we cannot automate due to the given the current restrictions. And choosing the right tool framework is the next step of our automation planning. So the way we have to choose the tool is it should cater to the needs of all the QA team as well as the development team, and it has to be multi-channel supporting tool, like which can handle both back-end automation, like front-end automation for both web applications and mobile app, as well as any hybrid framework that we are planning, which can handle both back-end and front-end at the same time. So, and also cost factor is another one which we have to consider while planning for the tool. So there are like many tools in market right now, like Catalan, Test Automate, like Micro Focus, UFT, etc. So we have to also look at the cost factor and the support that is in place for the tool when we are planning to select and implement the right tool for the project. And documentation is another important step, wherein we have to create a plan on what we have to automate, like sprint on sprint, and define the test cases for every sprint that we are going to automate. So either it can be tracked at a sprint level, or it can be tagged at a feature level or at a project level, depending on how the development delivery happens. But documenting the plan and the test cases for automation is an important step, because we wanted to track what is automated and what is not, so that it will give us a clear picture on the percentage progress that we made, as well as what is left for automation, like for the whole team. And scripting and debugging, as the name says, is again an important step. So for scripting, like nowadays, most of the tools are supporting multiple languages like Java, Groovy, and sometimes Python and other languages. So it is important to choose a scripting language that the QA team is comfortable with, because end of the day, they have to do all the scripting and enhancement and modifications. And starting the framework or the scripts with the language that the whole team is most comfortable is an ideal step. Like, I mean, be it Java or JavaScript or Groovy, whatever the team is comfortable, we can choose that. And build automation and execution are the other important steps. So test execution mostly happens completely automated through the build automation process. So at Upday, we use Jenkins as our primary CI/CD tool, and most of our test automation jobs or scripts will be run through it. And we have an automated reporting system. And also we get like notifications through Slack whenever there is a test failed, etc. So all these configurations are also part of the automation journey. And reporting, as I said, like is another important step. So any tool that we are choosing to develop a framework and automation, we have to make sure that reporting is a very key thing in the tool that we are selecting. Like ideally, any test report should be detailed enough for the stakeholders to see on what tests are passing, what are failing, and what is the reason for the failure, and what is the percentage of coverage that we are getting out of the testing that was done. So all these metrics should be generated as part of the report. So it has to be like as detailed as possible. So while choosing any tool, this is again an important criteria that we have to keep in mind. So test reporting as a key factor for this. So goals, like as I already said in my previous point, so covering all essential business flows is the first goal that we have for any automation project to kick off. And the tool or the framework that we are building should be able to handle dynamic data. So especially at Upday or even at Axel Springer, most of our applications handle dynamic data or dynamic requests. We have to make sure the tool that we are selecting is also able to handle the same. And test execution must happen quickly and timely. This is again an important goal for us. So there are like some tools, especially Selenium, which is quite slower in test execution, or UFT tool from Micro Focus, which is again a bit slower. So we have to compare the different test execution harness and effectiveness between the tools and take a call. So that is again an important factor. And last one, but not the least, so integration with the CI/CD tools like Jenkins, Bamboo, Travis, etc. So any tool that we are selecting should be integrated with all major tools, major CI/CD tools in the market, so that only then the build automation is possible, and we can have continuous tests enabled in our environment. So moving forward to the next one. So choosing the right tool. So the next few slides will talk about Catalan Studio, which is a tool that we have implemented in Upday like few months back. And we are highlighting like some reasons on why we have chosen Catalan Studio as our test automation tool, and some benefits and key aspects of the tool. So the first key points of why we considered Catalan is it can handle both UI and backend tests. So it can handle both the API automation, web and mobile app automation all together. So we don't have to go for multiple tools for multiple things. So this is like an end-to-end enterprise solution which can handle automation for all of the applications that we have at Upday. And the second important point we considered is it supports integration with all major tools which we use at Upday, like Jenkins, our CI/CD tool, Slack, our communication tool, AWS, our hosting platform, and TestRail, our test management tool. So these are the four important tools which we use integral to test automation, and Catalan provides different plugins and inbuilt options which can integrate with all these major tools in the market. again a cost-effective tool when you compare it with other automation tools like Micro Focus UFT or Test Automate or Oracle Automation Suite, etc. So this is like much cost-effective, and we have a very solid support that is in place for licensed users. So we can raise tickets in the portal, which will be answered within few minutes to hours, depending on the priority. And there is also an on-call number that will be given to us, wherein we can directly call them in case of any emergency, and they like support us like on the go. I mean, and they can also join the calls as needed. So these are like some additional benefits that we are getting as licensed users. And the last point that we considered is maintenance of Catalan Studio is quite easy when compared to other tools like Selenium or UFT tools and other Oracle suite automation suite. So it requires less maintenance from our end with respect to integrations or code factoring or code versioning, etc. And like teams can like really spend a lot of time in developing new scripts and test cases, and like spend very less time in maintenance of the tool and framework. So which is like quite important in saving effort and time to the teams. And additional to it, some other features that make Catalan really special are inbuilt object spying and code assist utilities that are there in the tool. So whenever we have a web automation or a mobile automation in place, we have a like an object spying feature which will gather all the elements on the web page based on the locators like XPath or class name, ID, etc., which will help us to do the scripting and identifying the object on the web page. So as part of our test automation flow. And they also have advanced debugging options with some built-in custom and keyword-driven frameworks. So wherein in case of any errors during the scripting or execution process, there will be a clear message and route to the place or line of code where the error is happening. So pretty much this is like any other IDE like Eclipse or so we have like this advanced debugging mechanism and the options in place. And Catalan supports dynamic data-driven testing. So, we can connect Catalan to any of our databases wherein the data keeps getting changed dynamically in our staging environment or, any other environment that is there. And also, there are other options to integrate data with Catalan, like in the form of CSV or Excel or HTML or any other format that it is supporting. But most of the time, we directly connect with our staging or the QA database to directly take data from them, and it can handle the dynamically changing data variables and continue with the test automation flow. So moving on to the next slide. So again, like this is a continuation of Catalan Studio. So we have a solution that is again coming from Catalan, which is called Catalan Test Ops, or test operations. So a cloud-based smart solution to enable continuous testing in the environment. So this comes as an integral part along with Catalan Studio. So we don't have to buy a separate license for it. So this is coming like as an add-on along with Catalan Studio. So wherein we can plan a dynamic testing with a suite that is uploaded to the cloud. So all of our test scripts or all of our test suites can be uploaded to the cloud, and we can schedule like tests every 5 minutes or 15 minutes whenever we want it to run. And the main feature of test ops is it will give us a real-time dashboard. I mean, similar to any other dashboard like Datadog or App Dynamics, etc. So with all the statistics or the metrics related to the tests that we are doing in Catalan Studio. So like, the monitoring the performance of the tests and giving executive dashboard on the different executions that are happening within a particular project, or, it has integration with the Jira and other Jenkins tools, wherein whatever defect that we find in the script, we can directly raise a defect within test ops instead of going to Jira. So that seamless integration is also possible. And again, like it helps us in monitoring and creating alerts based on our dynamic test execution that is happening. So as you can see in the diagram that how it is connected to different environments and how the analytics and the execution flow between Catalan test ops to different environments between Dev, QA and product management. So this is like a very interactive dashboard and a management console to see or to get a real picture of the testing that is happening across the environment or across the QA team. So as part of our demo, we will go through this dashboard also and see how the reporting happens there. So yeah, I mean, again, this is a continuation of this. So some highlights, as I already said. So as you can see the screenshots of the dashboard that it will look like. And we can have executive dashboard, which will say the number of executions done and the percentage of pass and failed for test cases, and the performance of APIs, in each run. Like it will actually generate an average duration of different APIs and requests that are part of test execution, and it will display the performance or the response time on an average, which will help us to see how the APIs are behaving in staging or in another QA environment that we have. And test step level debugging or execution monitoring is possible through test ops. So the second screenshot says different test steps that are executed, and the request and response we can see directly in the dashboard. And this is the performance monitoring thing. So these are different test suits that were executed, and as you can see, we can see both pass and fail test suits and the average time that it took to execute each test suit. This performance dashboard will help us to see how our test suits are performing across different environments. For example, executing a test suite which contains, let's say, 30 different test steps in production might take 60 seconds, or in staging it might take, let's say, 90 seconds or up to like 2 minutes. So we can see, the lag or the latency between environments clearly, and how the time of the test execution is behaving within the same environment. Let's say the same test suite might take like 60 seconds when I run it before a build, and after build is deployed, it might take like, let's say, 2 minutes or 3 minutes. So then we know like something is wrong with after deployment, and we can work with the development team to find like why this is causing a latency, and fix any performance issues that we might have. So this test ops solution will help in monitoring all the execution at a management level and performance, as well as test step level debugging of the solutions. Yeah. So moving forward, so coming to framework development, the main goal, the main point that we have to consider while building any framework is, the kind of development delivery that we have at the company or at the project. For example, primarily most of the teams will have a behavior-driven development (BDD) type of framework, or a test-driven development (TDD) kind of a framework, which is in place for development delivery. So any framework that we have to develop for automation has to be part of these two solutions, depending on the kind of development that we have at the project or the company. So at Upday, we have a hybrid framework that is in place for automation because we have projects or applications that deal with both keyword-driven frameworks and data-driven framework, or when I say both behavior-driven development and test-driven development. So to cater automation to that, to all these applications across the board, we have come up with a hybrid framework which can handle both of them without any limitations of that. So coming to the first kind of framework, we have data-driven framework, wherein, as the name says, the execution is completely driven from the test data, which will be stored in the form of a Excel or a CSV or connected to a database. And we have a test script which will call the test data and which will key into the application under test and run the flow that was configured. So depending on the different types of data that we use, like say positive data, negative data, exception handling data, etc., we will come up with the different scenarios for our testing, be it in both positive scenarios and negative scenarios, so that we will identify under which circumstances of the data the tests are failing, and if it is a valid scenario that has to be passed with this set of data, then that's a scenario or an issue that we have to discuss with the development team and get it fixed. So this kind of data-driven framework helps us in identifying the boundary values of the application, which is dealing with a lot of data. Like let's say we have a transaction processing engine, which deals with a lot of data, be it customer data or payment data, etc. So in this kind of scenario, data-driven framework will really help, to handle different boundary values and see where the application is failing, unable to handle the data, which is a valid data. And coming to the next kind of framework, it's a keyword-driven framework we have. So this primarily deals with the kind of keyword library that we have within the code. And we have a driver script for automation that inputs the data and handles the output to the keyword library. So the keyword-driven framework, it is mostly on the development side of it, wherein we mainly deal with different keywords and functions that are part of the code. And the driver script or the automation script that we have will only test the application with only a particular set of data that we have keyed in as part of our function library or the keyword library. And it will just check for the application flow for both positive and negative scenarios that was scripted by us. So the difference between data and keyword is, in case of keyword driven, we will not test for the boundary values. We will only test with a set of data that is already available with us, which can be limited in this case. So the hybrid automation framework which we have implemented at Upday. So some like key highlights on how it handles the data will be, the primary goal is to handle both the API automation as well as front-end automation from web and mobile. And with this hybrid framework in place, we will have a single test case that can handle both back-end automation and front-end automation, along with handling both data-driven and keyword-driven approaches. So that is a kind of a framework that we have built here. And this is like a sample flow that I have noted here, which will like give you a glimpse of what this framework will do. Say, for example, we are providing a content platform wherein our content platform will serve as serve news to different apps like Upday, Huawei, and other clients that we have. So on the back end, we have different APIs that will send the request and generate the response, which will be then sent to the front-end system that is hosting it, be it an application or a web page, and it will display the API response in the form of an article, which is seen by the user, like which has a title, which has a content, and which has a source, etc. So as part of our hybrid framework, we have developed scenarios which will validate the backend API, parse the API response, and have some assertions or checkpoints in place to make sure that the API response is valid in the first step, and then launch the API response in a browser or an app, and then again have some checkpoints to make sure that the article after being launched in the browser or app is working fine, like it has the title, it has the content, etc. And then update the results into the test management tool that we have, which is TestTrail, and making sure that all the end-to-end testing is done. So this is kind of the framework that we have built, which handles both backend, front-end, and other checks like assertions and checkpoints in there. So the demo that we will see will actually showcase this framework as well, so which will be there in the slides to come. So we can talk about it in the next slides. So some other important I would say points to consider during our test automation journey is related to assertions and exceptions. So when I say assertion statement is like a Boolean expression which will validate for the condition of the statement, and it will only hold the true value of the statement, and in case of any false boolean value that is coming as an output, the assertion will actually fail the test case then and there. So that is the important importance of an assertion. So this is like a checkpoint that is there on that we can have both on the API side as well as on the front end side. So on the API side, in the screenshot, you can see that this is like one screenshot for an example. So we are checking whether if a URL is present or not in the API response. So we are checking for blank. So if there is no value in this parameter called URL in the API response, then we are printing that URL is not present, and this particular exceptional handling that we have will stop the test case. So that if URL is not there, then there is no point proceeding with the test case because it is bound to fail. And if it is present, then we are again printing URL is present, and the test step will continue ahead without any failure handling mechanism. So this is kind of an assertion and a failure handling mechanism that we have in place, which will take care of checking for a particular value on the API response and failing it in case the value is not met or it is not true, or else printing a success statement and continuing further with the next step. And continuing the same assertions on the UI side. So when we are asserting any UI elements, like be it a UI web application or a mobile application, we use checkpoints and verify statements to validate the presence of different objects on the web page. So let's say we have an article opened on a browser or an app. So from automation, we have to make sure that the article title is present, the article content and the source, etc., are present on the web page. So as part of automation. So these are like different checkpoints that we will verify as part of the flow. So towards the right, this is the screenshot of the objects that are stored in the test automation tool. For example, we are storing a title, the content of the article and the source of the article, and by the XPath locator. So there are different locators that we can use to store the object on the web page, like XPath or class name or ID of the article, and we can use any of these locators to identify it on the web page when we are running a test. So in this case, I have chosen XPath as my locator, which is like the most reliable locator, because other things like IDs or geographical coordinates might change if we have a change in the code or something. But XPath is ideally a valid one unless we have the whole UI restructured. So this is chosen as a locator in my case. And to the left, you can see how the checkpoint and the verify statement looks like. So in this case, we are like verifying for the title of the window to be news, and it is true. And again, we are trying to find the object called link and title of the article in the object repository that where our objects are already stored. So in case the objects are not found on the web page, or if they are not matching, then we have an exception handling mechanism here, which will stop the execution, and we will not continue further with the test execution. So moving forward, Kautik, can I ask how much time I still have left?
Sure. So you still have to 5:10. So now you have still 25 minutes left.
Okay. Thank you. I'm not able to see the time as I'm sharing screen. Okay. Great.
Yeah, don't worry. You just ask whenever you want to know something about timing and etc.
Yeah. Great. Thank you. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. So moving forward to the next one, which is again an important parameter as part of the Catalan Studio or any automation tool in general, desired capabilities. So which are nothing but the options that will determine and handle the application behavior at runtime. So usually we have multiple options to run our test case on different applications depending on the nature of the app. For example, in this screenshot, you can see these are the different options that we have in Catalan Studio, wherein we can run the test case like as an API if it is a backend test case, or in any of the browsers like Chrome, Firefox, Edge, or Safari if it is a web app, or we can run it on Android or iOS, in case if it is a mobile application, and or if it is a desktop application, we can run it in Windows or any other platform that it is supporting. So similarly, the desired capabilities are something which we can use to alter the behavior of the application, during the runtime. For example, I have taken Chrome as an example for demo. So as you can see, we have, different Chromium flags that we use probably in our day-to-day basis if we are dealing with web-based testing or automation. So, sometimes you want to run your web application in an incognito mode, or sometimes you want to, disable all the info bars that are part of your application while you're doing unit testing, or sometimes you want to, kind of run it in a headless mode. We don't want to open the browser, but run it in a headless mode, etc. Like there can be, n number of Chromium flags that you wanted to pass as part of the runtime. So these can be configured in the settings of the Catalan Studio, like in the form of these flags. So here you can see I was just using a flag for demo, like wherein my test case, if I am running through Chrome, will be running in an incognito mode in a maximized window condition, and I'm like disabling all the info bars that are coming as part of my flow. So this is like one example on how we can use this desired capabilities. So similarly, for every platform that is supported by the tool, like Chrome, Firefox, Android, iOS, Windows, etc., we have like a lot of options to have these desired capabilities and alter the behavior of the application during the runtime. So this is a customized option that is available to us to deal with any unwanted browser behavior that is not needed as part of our testing. And one Slack integration. So, there is a plugin that is available with the Catalan Studio, which will help us to integrate our test execution summary to Slack in the form of an API. So the primary reason or benefits of doing this is most of the time we are on Slack for all of our office communication. So any execution that is happening automatically, we need not. It comes directly into our Slack channel, so that we don't have to like manually go into the tool or test ops dashboard to monitor the performance or monitor the status of the test. It will directly come into the Slack, and also. The another benefit of using this would be, we can directly schedule or trigger tests using command line, using the Slack plugin that we have. So there are like some command line syntaxes using the API key of a tool, which will directly trigger, the test execution from Slack if we pass, and the team may not like go into the tool or the test ops dashboard to do the triggering of the execution. And also, using some cron job syntaxes, we can also schedule the test using Slack plugin. You don't have to, worry about going into the tool and doing it. And we can always stay up to date on the test execution results, and without any need of going into the test management tool and checking it. So these are like some key benefits that we have of integration with Slack with the Catalan Studio. So I wanted to highlight some of the automation practices that we have at Upday, like some key ones which I thought I will share with the team. So the first important goal or practice that we have is achieving 70% of automation coverage for all the applications. So like whenever we have a project coming up or be it a new project or an existing project. Our goal is to achieve at least 70% automation of all the scenarios that are part of the application, and even more than that in most of the scenarios. But that was like our SLA of automation target that we have at Update. And converting all existing SOAP projects into Catalan for better automation enhancement. Like, as you know, like SOAP primarily deals with only backend testing, and it doesn't support UI or web, mobile or web automation. So we are converting all existing SOAP projects into Catalan, wherein we can actually enhance using our hybrid framework, like all backend automation with UI and mobile app, and we can create like a end-to-end hybrid automation scenarios and framework using that. So this is again a second practice that we're doing, and we are effectively tracking every test case that is automated. Like we have a Confluence page and a test management tool that has this automation flag enabled and automation tracker enabled. So wherein every test case that we are planning to automate and is automated is tracked both in the Confluence page as well as in the test management tool. So that anytime we wanted to see what is done and what is not done, it's like an effective way to monitor and track the progress of it. And the other practice that we have is to integrate every automation test case that we have with our test management tool, that is Test Trial, so that whenever we do any execution, the test run status will be updated automatically without any manual intervention. So that integration is seamlessly possible with Catalan Studio, the tool that we have selected. And integrating all of our automation test cases into Jenkins, which is our primary CI/CD tool, to achieve complete build automation and regular health check of our applications. So for most of our primary projects at Update, we have a regular health check of our applications done through Jenkins. So wherein we have the test running like every 15 minutes or every 10 minutes, and whenever like we have a new feature in place or whenever we have any existing enhancement in place, the test cases are updated and we have continuous testing in place to monitor the health of the application 24/7. And the last practice that we do still is to do an automation feasibility check and planning for every new project that is part of Update. So whenever we have a new project or application that is coming up, we do a complete feasibility analysis on what can be automated and what cannot be automated in the new project, and plan it or add it to our automation plan, wherein we will plan for the scripting of scenarios and add this new project to our repository, the tool and framework, etc. So this kind of feasibility check is done for every new project that is part of Update. So yeah, so let's move to the demo now. So let me minimize this screen. So hope you're still seeing my screen. Kauri, you can still see the screen, right? Start the presentation.
I can see it.
Okay.
What about the others?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay. So this is an outline of how the Catalan Studio tool looks like. So I'll just take like a couple of minutes in going through the layout of the tool and then start with the execution of the scenario that we have planned. So we have different profiles or environments that we can configure in the tool, wherein we wanted to run our test cases across multiple environments like QA, staging, and production. Configure the different variables that are part of these environments, like the endpoints or any authorization parameters, etc. And we can create different profiles on how we wanted to execute it. And followed by that, we have a test cases folder, which will have the test cases that are written by us, and we can have different folders created and organize them as as we intend to. And we have an object repository file wherein we will store all the backend and front-end objects in this object repository, which will be called at the time of test execution. So all the backend objects like the APIs and the request and other HT, I mean body of the request, etc. All these variables. And in case of UI or the mobile app, all the the web objects are stored in this object repository. So during the test execution, they will call these objects and it will perform the test. And we have a test suites option wherein we can create test suite depending on the different projects that we have at the company, and which is nothing but a combination of all the different test cases that we already have here. So this is like a collection of test cases running at the same time. And also we have an option to store the data files, like we can like store the data files in the form of, we can like import any Excel or CSV, or also we have an option to connect to database, etc. And we can use the data in our scripts as part of our scripts dynamically. And we have checkpoints, keywords, and other options, which I will not go in detail, but which are again called in during the time of execution, wherein we have checkpoints which will verify as part of our sessions, and keywords which are again called as part of our scripting, etc. So this is like kind of a layout on how the tool looks like. So let's go into the test case now, which you wanted to execute. So this is like one of the test case that I wanted to run and show you today. So the scripting is done in Groovy, language which I use mostly. And I'll just give you a glimpse of what I'm trying to do. So I'm trying to run test for Huawei application, which is one of our a client which uses our content platform, and generates news across these applications like Huawei Assistant and browser. And we are, this is currently running in different target markets in Europe. So as part of my test case, I am trying to validate the top news of 5 different target markets of Huawei, like Spain, Poland, Portugal, Finland, and Italy. And as part of this test case, I'm first calling the backend API, which will generate the news or the response, and I'm parsing and validating the API response. So I'm using JSON Slurper to do the API response parsing, and then asserting the API response, like as as I showcased in the previous slides. So I'm like asserting for different values of the URL being present, or the title being present, or the category being present, etc. And then I will launch this API response in a browser, like let's say Chrome in our case, and then validate for different page objects, like the title of the article, the source of the article, and the content of the article. And if any of them is not present, then I'm failing my test case here, so that and then we will continue with the debugging on why, if something is not present, be it both on the API side and on the front end side. And I'm closing the browser once everything is done. And after that, I'm launching another edition. So it starts with the Spanish edition, yes, and then I'm doing Poland, followed by Finland, Portugal, and Italy. So this test case is launching the top news article in 5 different target markets, and it is validating for both backend API response, front-end page objects, and exceptional handling scenarios as part of the response. So we have a test suite that actually calls for 4 of these test cases, which are here. So the first test case and the second one is pretty much on the article side, wherein they launch the articles and do some assertions and checkpoints. And the last 2 is about exception handling scenarios, wherein they will exclusively check in case of any exception on how we are handling it. So primarily, the first 2 test cases is a hybrid mix of both backend and frontend, and the last 2 test cases are exclusively backend. So I'm going to run this suite now on the staging environment. So we have an option to choose different environments, prod, QA, and staging. So I'll choose staging now, and let me run it in Chrome, and we will see how it goes. So the execution started now, and it is now launching the Spanish article. So as you can see, okay, it will be like very quick. So yeah. And now this is the Portugal or Poland article. And then this is the top news article from Finland. And whenever it launches an article, you can see a message that Chrome is being controlled by automated test software. So because we are running it through this tool, this is like a message that Chrome displays. Yeah. So now it already validated the first test case. And now it is in the second one, article sync, which mainly deals about syncing two articles. So you will see both matching. So which means we are syncing the articles in the same time. And it is in the third test case now, dealing with exception handling. So these two are backend test cases, so you won't see any UI getting opened. So yes. Yep, we are done with the execution. And the total time it took is 1 minute and 2 seconds, so approximately 62 or 63 seconds. And all 4 test cases are passed. And in the console, you can see like detailed view of every test step. So this is a total of 42 different test steps that are validated. And the time it took to run everything is approximately 1 minute. So we have run around 42 test steps related to these 4 test cases in around a minute time. And it can be even faster if you're running in prod, but yeah, in staging it is approximately 1 minute time. So once we are done with execution from the tool, there are different ways in which we can see the result. So the first one.
Maybe if I can jump in for 1 second, you have 8 minutes left, just so you know, if you want to have a discussion or something, just so you are aware of the time.
Sure. Okay. So yeah, I'll wind up in 2 minutes. I'm almost there. So this is the test ops dashboard that I was referring to. So here, this is the executive dashboard, which displays all the status of execution and other metrics like the pass percentage, fail, etc. And this is the latest one that we just executed. So if you go inside, we can see the profile is staging and the platform that executed is in Mac and Chrome. And the total duration is 1 minute and 2 seconds. And there are 4 test cases. And you can actually go inside the test runs and see all the 4 different test cases that are executed, and it will have a breakdown of of the 1 minute that it took for each test case. And if you can also go inside every test case in the test ops dashboard, and you can see test step by test step, how the result looks like, and in case of any errors, it will display in red color, and you can see how it looks like. So this is the test step level debugging that I referred to, and yeah. So this is the kind of dashboard and execution tracking that we can do using this test ops dashboard, and this is like the performance monitoring on how our executions look like over the period of time, and depending on the execution number that we're doing. And similarly, again in your local, there will be a HTML report that will be generated, which you can open and see this will be configured in the local by default. So again, this will have like all the 4 test cases that we executed, and it has like the test case and test step level, debugging and result viewing option. So this is again another report that the tool is generating after the execution. Yep. Okay, I'm done from my end. Maybe I'll stop sharing, and yeah. So I can take any questions now.